Hello everyone, I'll be with you shortly. This is the next episode in the Divine Economy Theory series. The book now that I'm reading is More Than Laissez-Faire. This is the audiobook for More Than Laissez-Faire. Today we'll be looking at Chapter 1, which is titled Divine Economy Theory, and the book that we're reading from is More Than Laissez-Faire. So happy you're here. Thank you for coming. I just recorded the same thing a few minutes ago on the wrong Facebook page, so I'm going to redo it, and hopefully I'll have the energy to do it, and I appreciate you coming in very much. So we're about to start on that, and here we go. I want to welcome you to this Divine Economy Theory fireside. This Facebook Live series serves as an audiobook. By using Facebook Live, LiveLeap, OBS Studio, and ActiveCampaign, I will bring the audiobook to you. Every once in a while, I will host a mini webinar to talk in more depth about the diagrams or any general questions that come up during the audiobook episodes. This Facebook Live series also serves as an archival resource, since I am the author and originator of the Divine Economy Theory, and I'm the one reading the book. And finally, this Facebook Live series is an act of love. It is a love story. It is a story about the love of the Divine Economy Theory, the love of freedom, the love of peace and prosperity, and the love of voluntary social cooperation. Let's get started. Today's fireside is Chapter 1. The title of Chapter 1 is Divine Economy Theory. And the three sections that we're going to look at today is activation, economics to the core, and the nature of the economy. Once we get started, after each paragraph, I will ask for your comments. So let's see who's here. Sorry about that. Okay, so I don't see any comments yet. And so we'll go back to, that's so much different. Anyways, on this Facebook Live page, you will see links that go to Amazon, that send you a link that will send you notifications each time there's an audiobook live session, and a link that enables you to download a free PDF workbook. And then also there's you can put your questions in the chat, or you can email me, and the two email addresses that you can send to are on the Facebook page. So I put them here in this comment section. So each one of those links is right there. And it's nice to see that Anna is here. Thank you for coming, Anna. Anna, I appreciate you coming. And so it looks like you're going to be with us. And if you have any comments, feel free to put them in those comment boxes. And also, if you want to just tell us where you're from, that's always nice to know where people are from. So we're going to go to the first section, which is, we're going to go to chapter 1. We're going to go to and begin reading the ebook. So that comes from here and here. Okay. Oops. Okay, chapter 1, Divine Economy Theory. Its germination. The preface. Encapsulated within the shell of the seed code is the theory of economics. It is set there for ages, and it is in direct contact with the earth and the earthly conditions. Those seeds that were not viable succumbed to the oxidizing forces of the earth. Among the viable seeds, there were two kinds remaining, the weeds and the true seeds of economic science. We want to discard the weed seeds, and we want to understand the organism of true economic science as set forth in the divine economy theory. So the things that caught my attention in that paragraph were, among the viable seeds were two kinds, weed seeds and true seeds of economic science. We want to understand the organism of true economic science. So Anna, thank you for coming from Brazil. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. Well, I made a mistake earlier. I recorded this same session on the wrong Facebook page, so I'm a little bit disoriented trying to get started again. And this is the page that I'm supposed to be posting it on. More people find out about it, and I'm grateful that you're here, Anna. So now we're going to go back to the first section. Now the first section is activation, and for that we'll look at real quick from here's the series of sections we're going to cover, and activation is the first of those series. We will start by asking the question, what would it take to bring together the theory and the reality of the economy? The answer lies in a process similar to germination, a process which has been activated by the great forces at play in the world right now. Knowledge in the garb of newness perceptibly exists. It attracts our attention because we are remarkably entrepreneurial in spirit. At that instant, a new germ begins to grow, and the vital process within it has an inherent nature that transforms itself and its surroundings. Then this new and transformed knowledge of reality finds its way into theory. Hence, there is a union here between theory and reality. What caught my attention in that paragraph is that bringing together the theory and the reality of the economy. Knowledge in the garb of newness perceptibly exists, and that attracts our attention because we are remarkably entrepreneurial in spirit. And then knowledge of reality finds its way into theory. Back to the Facebook Live page to see if there's any comments. So I think we'll move on to the next paragraph. How can our current plight and the plight and the past plight of humanity be reconciled with the human potential for good. Of course, no one thinks that humans are perfect. Error and mistakes are clear signs of imperfection. However, relative perfection is possible, and this degree of perfection occurs most readily when the flow of information is optimal. In our search for perfection, each of us is attracted to those things that bring about human prosperity, which in essence is the equivalent of the expression of oneself. What attracted my attention in that paragraph is the human potential for good. And that this relative perfection, this degree of perfection, occurs most readily when the flow of information is optimal. That's what we want. We want optimal flow of information. And each of us, in our search for perfection, is attracted to those things that bring about human prosperity. That is what all of us are like. It's universal for all humans. So we'll go and see what's happening in the Facebook Live. Okay, so we're going to go back then to the next paragraph. New insight into the economy will come shortly, as it is presented in this book, and these insights will reveal new possibilities. What has to be assumed so far from these introductory remarks is that what is germinated is a mighty apple tree that will grow stronger and stronger, and its branches will provide a sheltering canopy. The further along in its developmental stages, the more it alters its own surroundings, which then becomes a key feature in and of itself. As it matures, its vitality becomes increasingly evident and significant. What attracted my attention in that paragraph is the further along in its developmental stages, the more it alters its own surroundings, which becomes a key feature in and of itself. So there's no additional comments on that paragraph, so I'll move to the next one. So at this point, what we're about to do is go into the next chapter, next part of the chapter, which is economics to the core. The origin of the economy is intricately intertwined with the origin of man, which is ancient and even still a mystery. It taxes all the discerning powers of historians and archaeologists to discover the origin of man. Why does this veiled past have anything to do with the economy? The premise of this book is that the economy is a uniquely human institution, and that without the human being there would be no such thing as the economy. Speaking in these terms, it is obvious that they both appear and evolve concurrently. What caught my attention in that paragraph is that the origin of the economy is intricately intertwined with the origin of man, which is ancient and even still a mystery. The economy is a uniquely human institution, and both humans and the economy both appear and evolve concurrently. So I'm back to the Facebook Live page. I don't see any comments, so we'll move on to the next paragraph. I'll check, make sure everything's working properly. Okay. The intimately woven fabric composed of both humanity and the economy necessitates a deep examination into the nature of mankind. What we find is that the human urge to act is irresistible, and that human action stems from the same source as human reason. What caught my attention in that paragraph is that this intimately woven fabric necessitates a deep examination into the nature of mankind. And what we find is that the human urge to act stems from the same source as human reason. Looking to see if anyone else has joined us, if there's any comments. So we can again move to the next paragraph. Although rudimentary in the early stages of development, the early actions taken by primitive human beings were very much of the moment, and yet they were also important agents of transformation. Notice the dynamic here, the spontaneity between the act and the transformation, a dynamic that conveys great meaning. One does not exist without the other, and yet each spark of interplay reveals new possibilities. It is then this cumulative effect of human actions and the subsequent transformation taken throughout time and across time which brings us to the modern economy. What caught my attention in that paragraph is that these acts, these early acts, were also important agents of transformation, and that there's a great dynamic there that conveys great meaning. Each spark of interplay reveals new possibilities. It is then this cumulative effect of human actions and the subsequent transformation taken throughout time and across time which brings us to the modern economy. Wendy! I'm glad you're here, Wendy. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you coming to join us in this audiobook, Wendy. If you have any comments, you can feel free to put them in the comment box. I also have the email address. You can send them there. And so if I notice it looks like you're from Alberta, Canada. So appreciate that also, letting us know where you're from. So at this point, we're going then to go back to the next chapter, next paragraph. A moment of reflection is now needed for us to be able to discern what is real and foundational. As I just mentioned, the economy is a uniquely human institution. Since the human being can dwell in the world of relative perfection or imperfection, the potential then exists for the economy to be in one of those of two states. If the higher nature of humanity is realized, then the institution, the economy, is a tool for the expression of human action, will itself be elevated and celestial. Frankly, it is the divine nature of the human being which is his true reality, and therefore it can be deduced that the highest potential of the institution of the economy is divine. So what caught my attention in that paragraph is that the humans can dwell in this world of either relative perfection or imperfection. And that means that the economy can be in one of these two states. If the higher nature of humanity is realized, then the institution of the economy that is the tool for the expression of human action will be celestial. And therefore, it can be deduced that the highest potential for the institution of the economy is divine. Thanks for coming, Wendy. And what did you mean by the Great White North? Because of the color of the snow you're talking about? I imagine it's about melted by now, huh? So we are going to go to the next paragraph. What is the current condition of the modern economy? It is true that the modern economy carries the cumulative effect of human actions taken over time. Errors from economic ignorance have accumulated. Consequently, along the way, unnecessary burdens have been added. These add weight and bulk, since after all, the burdens are cumulative. So, what drew my attention in this paragraph is that the modern economy carries the cumulative effect of human actions taken over time, including the errors. And so these burdens are cumulative. It's trying to melt, okay. Yeah, we've had ups and downs on the temperatures here, but we had snow the other day, and there was one little pile left the next day, but it's gone now. So I can understand that since you're so far up north, that you still have some snow around. So thank you for coming. We're going to go back to the book. The metaphorical divine charger, because of these cumulative burdens, cannot traverse the span of contemporary history nimbly and ably. It may stumble, it may have to reverse or change courses. These burdens slow the arrival of the triumph of prosperity, which is our birthright, provided we recognize and endeavor to attain our divine nature. So what caught my attention in that paragraph is that we cannot traverse the span of contemporary history nimbly and ably because of these burdens. And they slow the arrival of the triumph of prosperity, which is our birthright. Okay, so we're getting into some significant questions here, so I'm going to deal with them. What is the faith's day-to-day responsibility to friends who are economic? I don't know if I can answer that for you, because this is not related to faith. This is, at this point, I mean, we can have that conversation personally, but not as a whole in this broadcast. So if you want to email me that question, well, we could deal with it at that level. And now let's see what the translation is for Anna's. I'm having trouble. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Anna. Hopefully you'll be able to maybe come back and get the recorded broadcast if you're having trouble with the live. Okay. So we're going to go back to the audiobook now. And so we must sort out the reason for the burdening or weakening of the institution, the economy, that serves to bring about our betterment. What's the reason? Understanding human nature sheds some light on the subject. The will to choose the higher perfections versus choosing the imperfections of our lower nature is at the crux. It turns out that ego-driven intervention is the best economic example of humans exercising their lower nature. Just as metal oxidizes and becomes corrupt, so too the economy deteriorates when it is corrupted by intervention. So here we go this is what I thought, what came to my attention in this paragraph. Of course, you can write your comments about what's drawing your attention. The reason for the burdening or weakening of the institution, which is the economy, we need to sort that out. It turns out that ego-driven intervention is the best economic example of humans exercising their lower nature. And the economy then deteriorates when it is corrupted by intervention. Wendy, thank you. Okay, the economy is so multi-layered, how can anyone understand it? The central banks. These are great questions, Wendy. Yeah. I'm going to spend a minute here talking about your comments. So here we go. The economy is multi-layered. How can anyone understand it? That's true, and that's exactly why intervention doesn't work. It's the thing about the divine economy theory that you'll begin to appreciate is we don't have to understand it. It's providentially there for our benefit. And, if we try to pretend that we understand it and then try to fix it based on that understanding, we're going to create problems. So what the divine economy theory does is helps you to understand the economy, which means, in that sense, that it's beyond our ability to understand completely. We can see it, how it works, and appreciate how it works. That's what the divine economy theory is about. Your next version, the central banks. Okay. So again, the central banks, that's an example of intervention. And so we do deal with, I will deal with that more in other parts of this, but it's beyond, we're not talking about any of that right now in this part of the audiobook. So I think what I mentioned earlier, you might not have been on here yet, is that comments that go away from the direct content of the audiobook reading, the episode that we're in, I'll just kind of catalog those, and at some point I'll do a mini webinar addressing those more specifically. But right now it's basically just to appreciate the content of the section that we're doing on the audiobook today. So we're about to move into the nature of the economy, and I will show you this now. So we're now at the third section of this chapter 1. We did activation, we did economics to the core, and now we're going to go and do the nature of the economy. So to get there, I got to go here and go to this point here. Okay, the nature of the economy. Herein lays the beginning of the problem that needs to be dealt with using economic science. The economy, which is viewed as a human institution, has not been seen up until now as I propose, as divine. The economy has a pure form to be striven towards. So what caught my attention in that paragraph is that the problem that needs to be dealt with using economic science is the nature of the economy, and that the economy has a pure form, and that's what we need to understand. Okay, so we're back to the comments. Appreciate your comments, Wendy and Anna. So we're going to go back to the next paragraph. How do we know what the uncorrupt economy looks like unless it is seen as having a pure form? Those who recognize that the economy operates perfectly well independently hold laissez-faire up as the pure form. but they have not made any connection to the divine nature of the human being as an essential identity. This is a new thought and is worthy of consideration. So what brought my attention into this paragraph is that those who believe the economy operates perfectly well independently hold laissez-faire up as the pure form, but they have not made any connection to the divine nature of the human being as an essential identity. And that's a weakness then in laissez-faire. Granting that the economy is divine implies the following: that the actors are seen as expressive agents of the will of mankind, that there is no omniscience within the realm of human policy making that can even minutely compare to the divine expression inherent in the market, and that the market is not a product of human design. The market is a divine institution that emerges spontaneously from human action. It is a social institution that forms for the sake of production. The market is the time and place where the convergence of all of this useful information transpires and where it is discovered. So what I'd like to emphasize in this paragraph is that granting that the economy is divine implies the following: the actors are seen as expressive agents of the will of mankind. There is no omniscience within the realm of human policy making that can even minutely compare to the divine expression inherent in the market. And that the market is not a product. It is not a product of human design. It emerges spontaneously from human action. It is a social institution that forms for the sake of production. The market is the time and place where this convergence takes place. It transpires and where it's discovered. Looking for any new comments. Okay. So that's what we've done today. We've gone and we've looked at Chapter 1 in the Divine Economy Theory, the 3 sections: activation, economics to the core, and the nature of the economy. So our goal then is to apply economics to our lives right now. So reflecting on what the little points that you've heard, things you've learned and maybe not have thought of before from today's audiobook section, think about some action that you can take. You know, it's the whole thing, the economy, everything about the economy, both at the level of you as an individual and beyond yourself. It's all about transformation. So if you reflect on what we've talked about today and think of some action you can take, then that will be a very fruitful, and it will be an example of the economy operating in you, by you. So that's the purpose of this, is to start to apply economics in our lives right now. Uh-oh. I'm grateful that you came. I apologize for the lack of free flow that took place. Like I said, I did one earlier today on a different Facebook page, and I'm a little bit fatigued from doing that, and just skipped along a little bit faster than I would have liked, and didn't have the full engagement because it was repetitive. But anyways, I'm glad you came, And each time that I do a Facebook Live for this audiobook should be better. And I'm learning how to use the different technology that I'm using to bring this in an interesting way to you. So if you have any comments about how I could improve, or if you have any comments about the content, what you learned, if you have any questions, go ahead and write those down in the comments section, even while it's live, which is just going to be for a minute or two more. Or you can just go back later and post it there after the recording is done. Like I said, I'm going to pay attention to the comments, and if there's anything that I can address at a later date in a mini webinar, I'll do that. So I wanted to show you another thing here. We are going to, next time, we're going to start with the market process. That's where we'll be going with the next audiobook. So until then, I wish you the best, and I appreciate you coming, and take care of yourself. Okay. Bye.